my vision was that, first of all, Sushiraw was never to be a business. It is a business, but more than a business, it had to be something more like an idea, like a way of life, a religion, a way to make music, a way to respect music, and to respect music more than the business of music. And at the same time, be able to understand the business enough to make music, but also the possibility to have artists and give them the freedom to express themselves, and at the same time guide them to commercial success. And so I was going to a club at that time called La Seine, and every time there was this guy that was black guy, but he has eyes like a Chinese guy, and he was always dressed like a kung fu master. And all the girls I was talking to, they knew him too. And I was like, damn, why does this guy know all the girls I know? And so I'm starting my third album, It's All Love. And at the same time, I want to have people work with me. So I discovered an artist in 1996 that never did a studio session in her life. Her name was Lyncha. And one day she told me, yeah, I sing in church. I was like, yeah. And I was doing a song for a rapper called Kim. And the song was Les Playboys en Carton. And I said, okay, come to the studio tomorrow. You're going to do the chorus for this. And I never heard her. And when I arrived with her in the studio, everybody was like, hey, who's this girl? I was like, yeah, it's a girl. She sings. And they were like, yo, how does she sing? I was like, I don't know. We'll see now. And when she started singing, everybody was like, wow, she killed it. So a few years later, when it was time for me to do my label, the first person I thought about was Lyncha. I was like, hey, listen, I'm doing this album. I'm doing my label. And I mean, listen, I think we should do a Zouk R&B album. Something, a mix of Zouk with R&B, with compa, with something, with like Afro-Caribbean influences, but in our style. And she was like, we were having a show actually, because we had a song that was killing from my compilation called Mélanger that was #1 on the radio. So we had a lot of shows together. So we were coming back from a show. We were in the train, and I was explaining to her everything I wanted to do. And so she said, okay, let's do it. So I started working on an album for her, but then she had other proposals of people that had maybe more power than me and that could sign her to a major label. So long story short, she told me, hey, listen, I'm really having this opportunity to sign at Warner Music. I would really love to work with you, but at the same time, this is an opportunity for me to be signed, And I was like, yo, listen, I understand. Okay, go do your thing. Okay. So finally, I couldn't sign her. Now, the Chinese guy, the guy that looked like a Chinese guy with his kimono, was actually a Capverdian named Elisio. And one day, actually, I had this chick that I was messing with, and that was her best friend, or his best friend. Oh, they were friends. So one day, we were all talking, and then we start talking, me and him. And so we start hanging out, chilling. I'm recording my album, It's All Love. And I really wanted to do a song. So he start taking me to the Cap Virgin parties. So, wow, Cap Virgin parties, Cap Virgin girls, kuduro. So I was like, that's crazy. And I knew that, I didn't know that at that time that kuduro was Angolan, but you could hear kuduro in the Cap Virgin parties because they were the most prominent Palap community in France. So one day I'm in the studio and I just finished writing a song, an instrumental, sorry. I just finished doing a beat called Fiona. And I have recorded the lyrics, but I'm like, yo, it would be crazy if I did this in Cap Virgin, in Criollo. Because the mother of my child that was pregnant, she used to tell me all the time, hey, listen, you're super famous in Portugal, because she's from Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde in Portugal. So she kept telling me, hey, in Lisbon, people know you. I was like, how people will know me there? I've never been there. I don't know. But then I was like, you know what? Let me do a track for the Cape Verdean market and sing in their language. But I don't know how to speak Criollo. Oh, the Chinese guy. So I call Eligio. I say, yo, what up, man? Hey, listen, can you come to the studio? He's like, yeah, what up? Hey, listen, I'm going to send you some lyrics by email and or by SMS in English. And I would love you to translate everything in Criollo. And then you come to the studio to help me, because I have no idea what you're going to be saying, but if you can come to the studio to help me pronounce everything the right way. That's how we came up with the track Fiona, that became one of the Kizomba iconic staple songs. And so after recording the track in the studio, Fiona, Eligio and I, we were invited by a friend of us, a girl, to chill in her house. She invited me, but I didn't know she also invited him and another two guys. We thought we were just going. I thought I would just going to myself to check her out, but in reality, she actually invited a bunch of people. So now we all meet in the apartment of the girl, and I'm like, yo, what you doing here? He's like, what you doing here? I'm like, came to see. So, but then all of a sudden, she comes out of nowhere and she's like, get the fuck out of my house. I was like, what's going on? And actually, her boyfriend was coming. And me, I was like, we just chilling. And now she was like, no, live in the back. So now, we live in the back. And as we're living, running away from problems, we go in the car with a guy called Michael, who did a track called Sushiraw, but back then he didn't do an album yet. So it was Michael, me, Eligio, and another guy. And we are just now, it's 7 p.m. We're there in the streets of where did she live, that girl? She lived in a place where there's a lot of Chinese restaurants. Is it Ménilmontant? What's the name of this area in Paris? Anyway, not important. So now we're laughing because we're like, what the hell? How did we end up in this situation? And why she invite all of us? And then I have my uncle, Bob Bopeso, calling me. And he's one partner of my dad. And he's like, yo, neveu, yo, uncle, yo, what you doing? Oh, I'm just there in Paris. Okay, I have a brand new music recording studio. Come. Oh yeah? Eligio, drive there. So we go to the studio, and my uncle, so he's there telling me, yeah, listen, me and your dad, we invested in this big studio. I'm like, yeah? Oh, wow. So, and do you want to test? Do you want to test the studio to see the sound? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I tell Michael, hey, Michael, go behind the booth to test your vocals. And I don't know, Michael was playing, so he goes behind the booth, he starts singing. I didn't like it. I was like, yeah, no, okay. And I look at Eligio, I'm like, yeah, go behind the booth. Eligio goes behind the booth. He start rapping in Criollo. I'm like, yo, we have to work together. I'll get back to you, but we have to work together. So like, yeah, I'm down. Okay. So this episode was actually before the day Lincha told me, oh, you know what? I cannot work with you on the album because I have another opportunity, etc. We were going on tour. It was a big bus. We were going to do a tour by bus and going to like 4 or 5 cities in France. And it was organized by Martial of MGTX Management. And it was Lord City, me, Sumia, Lincha, DJ Gyro, and Lincha's dancers, I think it was that. So we all go to a big bus, right? And the first city where we were performing, I think, was Lyon or Bordeaux. So we had like 4, 5, 6, I don't remember how many hours of driving, right? And in my head, I'm like, damn, I don't have an artist to start the label. And Martial, who's the CEO of MGTX Management, tells me, yo, bro, I heard you are starting your label. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why don't you work with my artist? You did a song with her before, like in a compilation. So, yeah, why don't you work with my artist? And I'm like, which artist? He's like, Sumia. I'm like, Sumia, you think so? He's like, yeah, listen, that would be perfect. You guys love hip hop, R&B, da 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 da. She's like this, she sings, da 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 da. You're looking for, what do you think? And me, I'm like, bro, actually, that's a good idea. So she comes, he tells me, he tells her, hey, Sumia, come. So she comes to the front of the bus and we start talking, us three. And I'm like, yo, so what you want to do? Sorry. So I ask her, hey, so what you want to do? She say, I'd love to do an album where I can play with all my sensibilities. I grew up with people from the West Indies, but I'm from Morocco and Mauritania. And I love R&B, I love hip hop. I'm street. And I'm like, she could be my Mary J. Blige. So I was like, okay. And I asked Martial, okay, but how do we release her album? And he tells me, hey, listen, let's go talk to Harold Sangamalon. And I'm like, Harold Sangamalon? Yeah. He hired me on a tour and we did a month together in 2001. I really like him. He's cool. And he was like, yeah, listen, he has his label, Section Zouk. Maybe you could do a sub-label there or collaboration with him. I'm like, that seems like a good idea. And then we like, okay, after the tour, let's go see him. I'm like, yeah, good idea. So a week later, when we back from tour, Martial calls me, come and pick me up at my house, and off we go to Section Zouk office. So already been in the club, but I didn't know that on the top of the club there was a label. So there was this club called La Pointe des Antilles, and on top of it, it was a label. So we go there with Martial and to sell the project Sumia. So of course, all know me from my hit Bounce Baby '98 because he hired me also to do a tour with him. And so we arrive. And he's like, okay, so you want to do an album? I say, yeah, I want to do the album of Sumia. So he's like, okay, so how much does it cost? I'm like, what you mean? He said, yeah, but what are the costs? Like, how do we do the business? And I'm like, okay, listen, I want to do 50-50. I'm going to bring this. And I want you to do this. So what I want you to do is to put the songs in the radio, the songs inside of CDs, and then to do the distribution marketing. That's what I need you to do. He's like, okay, so how much do we need to record? How much money you need for the studio? I'm like, don't you have a studio here? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, we'll record here. Okay, cool. So this costs electricity, so $0. Okay, I need a guitarist. He's like, okay, boom, guitars. And I said, okay. And he's like, okay, who's gonna do the music? I said, me. And he's like, what are you gonna do? All the songs? I said, yeah, I'm gonna produce all the beats. He's like, you make beats? I said, yeah, of course. I made all the beats of my 2 first albums. Oh, okay. So we start doing the budget of how much we need to do the album. And he tells me, wait a minute. Are you telling me that you can do Sumia's album for that amount of money only? I'm like, yeah. Because what costs the most, other than the engineers, the mix engineer, the guitar player, and Valérie, the Tribord sister, who are the chorists. Other than that, everything else I'm doing. So, and you're not gonna pay me for my instrumentals because this is my part of the investment. That's why we do 50-50. And he's like, I like this business model. And I'm like, okay, there's only one thing. I own everything that is digital on the internet. He's like, yeah, okay, I don't care. That was his mistake. After that, he's like, I can't wait for you to show me. So he was telling me, listen, when I do an album, I need 50,000 euros to do an album, just to have a master, because I have to pay the instrumentals, I have to pay this, I have to pay that, the drums. I was like, me, I can do everything for 5,000. He was like, that's crazy. And he's like, yo, you have more albums like this that you can do? And I told him, well, I'm doing my 3rd album. He's like, oh, yeah, I want that too. What else you have? And I said, oh, Chinese guy. But I have a guy called Elisio that I can also do. And then I have these 2 guys called ABG that rock with me. I could start in 2003. I mean, we were in 2002, end of 2002. I said, listen, I could do these 4 albums this year. He's like, you can do 4 albums in the same year? I was like, yeah, easy. Just need to make instrumentals, and then I let the artists the freedom to do their thing. And that's how the crew that was Sushiraw was born. And the business model was also born. And